Radio, talking about the sports you do and don't know, both within and surrounding Baltimore. Don't ask him about preseason games, oh no, stuffing things in Griffin Basso. Despite it being on the internet, he can call it what he wants, so Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio, Glenn Clark Radio. Duke sucks.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, for the warm welcome. My family and I, we could not be more excited about this opportunity, but we really look forward to making it all of us, and making this, it's already the greatest organization in the National Football League, and we just want to take it even a step higher. And so we are so lucky, blessed, thankful to everybody for us being here, and can't wait to get to work. Thank you.
Jesse Minter, new Baltimore Ravens coach, of course, yesterday as he arrived on the old PJ and then wandered over to the Under Armour Performance Center to see his new digs. The Ravens put out a lot of adorable content, including, of course, that, but also him and his kids looking at the new office and the old office, and today's office is not yesterday's office. But lots of sweet content. And today's a good day, obviously, for Jesse Minter. There is no better day as a football coach than your first day. No one hates you.
Well, as long as you say.
Unless maybe you're Todd Monken.
Okay,
I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know how everybody feels in Cleveland. But for the most part, you arrive, fresh slate, everybody's happy, all's good.
Just make sure you say the catchphrase right, like don't go Duval.
Yeah, don't do that, right.
Well, if
yeah.
you win 12 games, though, then, you know,
yeah, that's true.
everyone
Then
quickly
everybody
forgets.
loves you again, and all's good. But today, this should be as easy. It's funny because we're starting obviously quite early today. Good morning. It's Glenn Clark Radio. And it's because we're going to watch the Jesse Minter press conference like you all are. But the truth is, this is probably going to be a really uneventful event. What is there for Jesse Minter to say?
Well, he says, first thing I'm going to do is trade Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, right. Sure. And that's, by the way, that's the only interesting thing that can come out of today is questions that wouldn't go to Jesse Minter. Because Eric DeCosta is going to be there too. And inevitably at some point, you know, everybody's going to get there. Hey, nice to meet you, Coach. I'm John Jameson from the John Jameson Times. And then at some point, whether it's Coleman or whoever, is going to get around to having to ask Eric DeCosta, so, about those Lamar Jackson negotiations. We're
Should we start
about a month away from free agency.
Your pick is Coleman to pick up.
I think somebody's going to do it before Jerry.
Okay.
I think somebody's going to do it for Jerry.
I'll go Kyle Goon.
You go Kyle.
Yeah.
The problem is Kyle almost certainly has like an angle that
I
he
know.
and his editors
like he's
have
got
talked
a
about
separate
for
story
his
that he's going to
column.
write about. Yeah.
So I think it's more likely to be a reporter. I can see Jonas doing it. Although Jonas
will Ken be there? Ken Wyman?
I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
If Ken's there, I might
the
go
problem
Ken.
is Jonas also probably gets called on early, and I think he'll
do a softball to Jesse
or
not
something.
A softball,
not a
but yeah.
softball, but something about his background, something about, you know, you got to ask about, hey, what's your staff going to look like, and you know, you got to do all that sort of stuff. You know, being back here, you got to do all that stuff. So I don't know. It'd have to be somewhere in like the middle of the press conference that someone will inevitably have to ask a question about Lamar Jackson. And that's the only real, like, interesting thing that could come out of here unless there's something unexpected that pops up. Like Jesse Minter saying, I'm not going to call the plays defensively. That would be obviously interesting if that were to be the case. But I don't think it will be the case. Like, if that were to be the case, then maybe we could talk about Jim Schwartz, but we're not going to talk about Jim Schwartz. Jesse Minter's going to call the plays. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, yes, that's why we're starting early today, is so that we can wrap up before the press conference and we can watch it like everybody else can. Isaiah Stanback's going to join us in a little bit. Of course, former NFL wide receiver, now with NFL Network. We'll talk about the Ravens. We'll also talk some draft as he worked the broadcast for the East-West Shrine Bowl this week. Saw some local prospects that we're interested in, like Eli Heidenreich and Landon Robinson from Navy, as well as Jalen Husky from Maryland. So we'll talk to him about that. As far as news is concerned, the only real news that I think is interesting is the news this morning from Adam Schefter of ESPN that Jim Leonhard is apparently a candidate to be the defensive coordinator. And I say that it's interesting, of course, because Jim Leonhard is a beloved former Raven, despite the fact that he only played here 1 year. I was actually thinking, as I got to work on the 15 for next month's issue of Press Box, I was thinking maybe it could be like most beloved 1 year Baltimore athletes, guys like Nelson Cruz, who weren't here for a long time, but they were sure here for a good time. And obviously, Trent Dilfer would probably be the highest on that list because who did more in 1 year? But Jim Leonhard, despite only being a Raven for literally 1 season, it's still a name that when you bring up, you hear this from Ravens fans. Oh, I love Jim Leonhard. And Jim Leonhard is currently the defensive pass game coordinator for the Broncos, and according to Adam Schefter, the Ravens requested to interview him. He is already interviewed for the Chargers defensive coordinator job, and he's also in the mix for the Bills defensive coordinator job, and you would think those 2 jobs would be more appealing because in L.A., first of all, Jim Harbaugh is not – he's a CEO type. He's like his brother in that way. While he was a quarterback, he is not running the offense. That's why Mike McDaniel was willing to go there, because Jim Harbaugh is not running the offense. In Buffalo, they hired an offensive coach in Joe Brady. So in both spots, you'd be the guy as defensive coordinator, where in Baltimore, you'd be a guy. So I would think that the Baltimore job would be the least interesting of the 3, unless Jim Leonhard is just like enamored with Jesse Minter or something along those lines. Or, as I pointed out before, maybe Jesse Minter is not planning on being as hands-on as we would think and as, you'd want him to be with the defense. So it's fun because it's Jim Leonhard, and we love Jim Leonhard, and the possibility of Jim Leonhard coming back to Baltimore seems great. Like, hell yeah, brother, sign me up for that. But I just don't know why it's a job that Jim Leonhard would be interested in if he has other options. Now, maybe the Chargers and Bills just have people they like more and go that route, and then if this is his option, then seems like a decent option and an upgrade over being a pass game coordinator. But we'll see how that plays out. We only know of one other known defensive coordinator candidate, which was Joe Cullen, the Chiefs defensive line coach, who was the former Ravens defensive line coach. That's someone who I presume knows he's never going to be a head coach, so this is as good as it's going to get, and makes a lot of sense to me. That always seemed like the waters you'd be swimming in. Jim Leonhard is probably someone who still wants to be a head coach on top of, might have better options, and being the defensive coordinator behind an actual defensive coordinator, being a quote-unquote defensive coordinator, is probably not the best next step towards becoming a head coach. So, I don't know. It's fun. I like Jim Leonhard as much as you guys do. I just don't think it's going to happen. It seems unlikely to me. No other known offensive coordinator candidates. That's probably the weirdest part about this first week of Jesse Minter, is how little conversation. Like, Drew brought it up yesterday. The Ravens are going to be fine. Like, they're going to find an offensive coordinator. But And some of this is obviously complicated by other teams' coaching searches. Like, where are Davis Webb and Nate Scheelhaase? Like, why was it that the Broncos fired their offensive coordinator 2 days ago, presumably so that Davis Webb would be their offensive coordinator, and yet here we are 2 days later, and they haven't announced Davis Webb as their offensive coordinator? Is that because Davis Webb is feeling the thing that I would think that Jim Leonhard would be feeling, which is, I need to get somewhere where I'm the guy. I can't be here behind Sean Payton where he's going to get all the credit for whatever we do offensively, and it's going to hurt my chances of becoming a head coach. And if that's the case, then maybe he still is in play to be the Ravens offensive coordinator, but we haven't heard anything necessarily about that. Drew said yesterday, is it weird that they apparently put in a request for Declan Doyle and we haven't heard anything about that? Part of that might just be that we don't have as much reporting on these things as we do when it's a head coaching search.
Maybe they'll bring him out for the press conference today.
Maybe. Or maybe they needed to get Jesse Minter into the building. Like, if Jesse Minter didn't arrive in Baltimore until last night, then how are you going to be doing in-person interviews? Presumably you want that person to be talking to Jesse Minter because that's who they're going to report to. And I guess obviously those things could be done virtually, but maybe they wanted to purposely wait until Jesse Minter was here. So you joke, but maybe after Jesse Minter's press conference today, and I think I heard he's doing the Pat McAfee program, then later on this afternoon, that's when he intends to start having candidates meet him in Baltimore. I don't know. We'll find out. But obviously that's the biggest thing that we're kind of waiting on right now is the staff. And we've only gotten little tiny morsels, offensive line coach and inside linebackers coach. I mean, those really small pieces. That
you don't think they're important?
I'm not saying they couldn't be important, but we just haven't gotten anything yet that is particularly interesting. We do know that George Warhop's not going to be the offensive line coach because he's on to Cleveland with Todd Monken. Apparently, there's a war of the roses going on between Todd Monken and John Harbaugh for some Raven staffers.
Sounds like John's winning.
I guess. I was on 98 Rock this morning, and Scott from Justin Scott and Spiegel said, "What does it tell you that Zach Orr is interviewing for a linebacker coach job and John Harbaugh took Denard Wilson?" I said, "I think it tells me that he knows he hired the wrong guy."
Yeah.
Now, why he was so stubborn in not being willing to move on from that guy, and we could have a complicated conversation about that, as I said before. Did Chuck Pagano not want to be the defensive coordinator? When they, is it possible that going into the bye that they did? He mentioned something to Chuck, Chuck, I don't know, things aren't going the right way. Would you want to do this the rest of the year? It's totally possible that Chuck, when they reached out to Chuck, just said, "I'll take a stress-free job, but I'm not taking that job."
And then they were like, Coach Marlon Humphrey.
I don't know. Is it just an insane amount of hubris where, as John said publicly, we got it fixed last year, so I believe we're going to get it fixed this year? I don't know what it was, but yeah, I mean, I've chuckled the same way everybody else has. Clarence Hill reported yesterday that Zach Orr's meeting with the Cowboys to be linebackers coach, which seems like the type of job that Zach Orr should have. And I don't think any of us would even be opposed to Zach Orr being a Ravens linebackers coach. I get why that probably won't happen. It's very difficult to take a step backwards within the same organization. But why the fact that John Harbaugh hired Denard and not Zach Orr, when ironically a couple years ago, players seemed to be more interested in Denard than they were Zach Orr. Very interesting. Very interesting in what it tells you about mistakes that may have been made that perhaps in the end, that hubris might have been what cost John Harbaugh his job. I mean, really, it might be that at the end of the day, that hire was the final nail in the coffin for the John Harbaugh era in Baltimore, and an unwillingness to move on from that hire when it clearly wasn't working. So I think that's Greg Lewis, the former wide receivers coach, is going to Tennessee to be wide receivers coach there. I think that's everything as far as the Ravens and the staff are concerned, which I know is pretty all-encompassing of what it is that we're talking about these days. We did learn yesterday another Hall of Famer that won't be this year is Eli Manning, according to The Athletic, is not getting into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Interesting on two fronts. One, the Eli Manning conversation is just so bloody complicated, man. Like, he's not a Hall of Famer by any stretch of the imagination. There's only one argument for Eli Manning to be in the Hall of Fame, and I don't know how good of an argument it is. It's a good argument, but not a really good argument. The only argument is he beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl.
Anyone else do that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And he beat Bill Belichick twice.
That's correct. That's correct.
Although he's not a Hall of Famer, so maybe.
That's a good point, right? That guy stinks.
So they're going to make Brady sit out a year as well, I guess?
No idea what they're going to do with
a couple years.
We finally heard from the first voter that said he didn't vote for Bill Belichick, and what he said, it was, I believe it's Vay Gregorian in Kansas City, said that he just voted for the 3 senior finalists because he believed they had been waiting longer, which is what I said. Like, we're all acting like this is the worst moment in football history because we don't – this is what happens. We don't pay attention to the Hall of Fame and the process. I remember when I first started doing the show with Kyle years ago, I said something to him like, Kyle, there's a chance that someone you don't expect that Ed Reed doesn't get in on the first ballot. And Kyle was like, what? I'm like, I'm not telling you he won't. I'm telling you their track record says they don't care about that the way that we do. Now, for a little while, the tide started to turn on that, and some younger voters came in, and I remember having this conversation with our buddy Clark Judge, where like some of the younger voters were way more hell-bent about, we got to put these guys in on the first ballot. Do you remember Terrell Owens had to wait 3 years to get into the Pro Football Hall of Fame? And while I'm not saying Terrell Owens is the wide receiver what Bill Belichick is to coach, because I do believe that Bill Belichick is the greatest coach in NFL history, I'm also saying that like there is a track record of this. And sometimes it's about vendettas, and I think with Terrell Owens it was certainly about a vendetta. But sometimes it's just about other things. And according to Vay Gregorian, and I have no reason to doubt him, it's just about, in this process, I think the 3 guys that all played are all Hall of Famers, and I wanted to vote for them because they've been waiting for a really long time. And so I get that. I mean, I do. I understand. Nobody wants to hear it because all you want to hear, I mean, L.C. Greenwood passed away some time ago. Nobody wants to hear it because all you want to do is look it through the prism of Bill Belichick. And I understand that. But as I said yesterday, they didn't go put down a sheet of paper and say, Bill Belichick Hall of Famer, yes or no. And have 11 people say no. There might be some that ultimately tell you they said no, whether it's because of Spygate or whatever. But some, like the first one that we heard from yesterday, are going to tell you they said yes. They just wanted to say yes to 3 other guys before that. Do you remember what last year's Hall of Fame class, who was in last year's Hall of Fame class?
It was a very nondescript class.
It couldn't have been more nondescript. Jared Allen and Antonio Gates, to me, are both slam dunks. Eric Allen was a guy that I guess is a Hall of Famer. I mean, obviously he's in. Sterling Sharp was a senior committee guy and was the only one from the senior committee that got through. They only got 3 Hall of Famers through of the 15 finalists. Because this is a weird process. It's weird. This isn't like other Halls of Fame. I mean, to be fair, we actually don't really even know what the Basketball Hall of Fame process is. I guess this is a less weird than that.
Did they change it for this year? The football, or it's the same as it's always been?
The last 2 years, they split up the seniors and coaches. Like, coaches used to be in the same group as the player finalists. And you'd be measuring, like, an owner against a player, which was kind of absurd.
Mm-hmm.
So they took them out, but then they still put them in with the senior candidates. And you still have people like this first voter that say, those are 3 guys that I think are all Hall of Famers and should have been in a long time ago. And one of them's already dead. I don't want more of them to die while they're waiting to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And somebody would say, hey, Bill Belichick's not getting younger either, and that's true.
He thinks he is. He's trying to.
It's true. He's got a 24-year-old girlfriend. But he hasn't been waiting that long. It's such a complicated conversation. The Hall of Fame's pissed that everybody's leaking out information and is threatening to take away people's votes, which might very well be why. I know yesterday there was a bloodthirst to find out who the people were that weren't voting for Bill Belichick, and so you started to scream at every vote, did you vote for Bill Belichick? And a few of them, including Scott Garceau, who I know talked to the Baltimore Banner, said, I'm not going to tell you because we're not supposed to. Now, some of this is on the Hall of Fame. They used to do the vote like the week of or the day of the announcement. So there wouldn't be time for there to be leaks. Now they're doing the vote weeks ahead of time and filming these videos of them traveling to inform someone that they got in as if there aren't people that can watch that and see and then maybe want to tip people off. I mean, some of this is on them. Like, you really think you're going to keep all of this secret for weeks? In 2026? Where there's more access to anything, where Jelly Roll was breaking NFL news this week. Jelly Roll was reporting, I'm pretty sure that was planted by the Titans, but Jelly Roll was reporting that Brian Dable was going to be their offensive coordinator. Some guy that works at a liquor store that you stop by on your way to informing whoever it is, Larry Fitzgerald, whoever's getting in this year, sees you holding a sheet and puts it up on Twitter, and now there's that. So some of this is on them. They can be mad about it, and I get it. And if the people that are involved agree that they weren't going to be sending out that information, then they do have problems they have to deal with. But some of it's on them because they pushed up the date of voting weeks ahead of time and were asking for stuff to start leaking out when you do that. Again, it used to be they go into a room on Saturday morning, they'd deliberate for hours. At 6 o'clock, they'd have their list of Hall of Famers, and at 8 o'clock, they'd announce them.
Okay, that's what I meant. That's what I thought was different of recent years.
Yeah, they changed that, though. Like, I want to say, when NFL Honors started, they changed that because then NFL Honors is on Thursday, and they want to do it on Thursday. It's a whole deal. All right. Today's show is also brought to you by County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website to find out everything you need to know about high school sports here in the state of Maryland. Obviously, schedules have been wrecked this week because of the weather. So check out all of the updates at CountySports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Well. Joining us now here on GCR. Always appreciate this guy taking some time for us. He was at the East-West Shrine Bowl this week in Texas. Saw a bunch of different draft prospects. I just want to talk some Ravens with him as well. You see him on NFL Network. He's former NFL wide receiver and college quarterback, Mr. Isaiah Stanback, and he's with us again here on GCR. Isaiah, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you as always, man. Thank you so much for taking the time for us.
No, man, it's good to hear you guys. I appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely, dude. Isaiah, I do want to talk about what you saw down in Texas this week, but before that, if I could, just what was your reaction to the Ravens moving on from John Harbaugh and Jesse Minter trying to maybe reestablish their defensive intensity and identity of this franchise in hiring someone who has had a track record in recent years of quickly impacting defenses?
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised that they moved on from Harbaugh. I understand why organizations are opting to do that. Obviously, when somebody's been instilled in an organization for so long, that they've had an identity, they have a level of comfort And when you get accustomed to success, then I think that organizations start to get spoiled. And I think that oftentimes they forget how hard it is to attain the success that these longstanding coaches have had. And obviously Coach Harbaugh, Coach Tomlin, guys of that stature, and organizations want them to get over the edge. They want to get over to that next hump, right? That playoff, barrier that they have. And they want to move on, and they want a different regime to come in and try to push them beyond that point. But I think that oftentimes they forget that it takes a lot of work just to even have the ability to make the playoffs, especially when we start talking about some of the divisions that these organizations are in. So I am surprised that they moved on from him in terms of mentor coming in. Obviously, he's had some success, but he's had a ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball down there. When he was with the Chargers, they invested a substantial amount of resources to ensure that he had all the talent at every position group. So I think they obviously coming over to the Ravens, they have a ton of talent as well, but I don't know if they have the same physical prowess that he's had at the defensive line position. So that's something that they're going to have to get back and rebuild.
There's no doubt about that. Let me follow up real quick on that, because I think one thing that we brought up in the process was, hey, don't forget, it's been a long time since we've seen a rookie head coach win a Super Bowl, and it dates all the way back to George Seifert and the 49ers when he replaced the retiring Bill Walsh. But we do see Mike Macdonald this year in just his second year taking the Seahawks, and they're going to be big favorites, obviously, in the Super Bowl. Do you worry at all for a franchise that made this move because they want to win Super Bowls right now, as you allude to? Do you worry at all that it might take a little time for someone like Jesse Minter to figure out what it takes in order to be able to win at that level as a head coach?
I absolutely do. I think that there's just a level of excellence that's expected, obviously, with the Baltimore Ravens. They have this aura about them. And when you talk about that organization and how much they've invested, especially defensively over the past few years, and then obviously last year bringing in King Henry to assist with Lamar Jackson, and obviously the receivers have been coming along, but that's not necessarily standing out the way in which they want to. It's going to be very difficult for him to try to attain that level of success. You talk about Coach McDonald over in Seattle. He's a defensive guru, right? I think that's the reason why he was given that opportunity. And the first thing that he did was go in there and start getting centerpieces that he needed to execute his half of the ball. He's responsible for the defense. Obviously, as a head coach, you're responsible for all three phases, but his specialty was defense. He went in immediately and got Leonard Williams, and then he just started stacking draft picks. And then they went out and they got Tank Lawrence, and they just added up, on that defensive side of the ball, and then they just needed to get by offensively until things started rolling. That was a game plan that he had, and that's the game plan he executed, and now he finds himself in the Super Bowl. But to have that expectation on every other, head coach that's their first go-round, I think that's just unrealistic.
I understand that. There's an argument that, the next thing, the offensive coordinator hire is so much more important because he's a defensive head coach. And then there's the flip side argument, which is, yeah, but Lamar Jackson, is your offense. Doesn't matter how much, how important really is your offensive coordinator hire. Do they need someone who's experienced, who's been through it before to try to help with a first-time head coach? Or, is it okay because, my God, it's Lamar Jackson anyway, the offensive coordinator maybe doesn't matter as much as we think?
I think, especially in Baltimore, you probably need an experienced guy more than ever, or if either an experienced guy or you need a young, creative mind. I think that McDaniels would have been a great pickup for them because he is just that Jedi mind type of guy who can figure out how to get the ball, to all the different resources that they have offensively, especially satisfy Lamar Jackson, find a way to have equal balance with King Henry. That is the difficulty of any offensive coordinator that's going to step into that organization, because you have to find a balance between taking off the wear and tear off of your two premier guys offensively, both at the running back position and at the quarterback position. So it's going to be a challenge no matter what. You got to make both of those guys happy. You have to have some balance, but you also have to find a way to have a consistent offense. You got to figure out exactly what is your style of offense. And I think that obviously Monken being there over the past few years, they were trying to figure it out offensively. They went away from the run from Henry, and then they had some offensive struggles. And then towards the end of the year, they obviously started giving it to him again, and they started being dominant offensively. But then the defense was struggling, right? So it just, towards the end of Harbaugh's tenure, things just wasn't necessarily clicking. But offensively, I'm not sure how you come in there and figure out that balance if you haven't done it before.
I agree with you wholeheartedly about Mike McDaniel. Could Cliff Kingsbury be that guy?
Kingsbury can be that guy. I think Kingsbury is more of a West Coast type offense, though, right? So you have to start looking at your personnel and saying, okay, is this the type of personnel that fits that scheme?
Mm-hmm.
I don't foresee Kingsbury being somebody who is as somebody who can adapt to the personnel that he has. I think he's more of a, this is my system, you fit in my system. And I think that's possibly why it didn't necessarily work out there with Dan Quinn, because Dan Quinn needed him to adapt to what Jalen Daniels does best. And I'm not sure if that ever necessarily clicked. And I would imagine that there was probably some resistance on both sides. Therefore, that's why they split.
I've heard that from a few people, by the way. That's really interesting. All right, he's Isaiah Stanback. He's with us here on GCR. Isaiah, I know you were down there. I want to, if I could, run by a couple of local guys whose names are interesting, and I know that it's tough because there's about 1 million guys playing in that game, so I understand if you don't have a deep dive on any of these guys. But two that are near and dear to our hearts are the two Navy guys who I know were flashing throughout the week, Landon Robinson and Eli Heidenreich. Did you get a good look at either one of those guys, and do you have a sense of what they are as NFL prospects?
Yeah, as you mentioned, there was a ton of guys, but I do remember Heidenreich. He got in there. He had some solid carries. He necessarily didn't have the day that we were all expecting him to have, but obviously, wide receiver / running back type of deal. It was going to be very difficult to try to be placed on display in that particular setting. But I did get an opportunity to watch him in practice, and he is elusive. I think he's talented. I think he could be one heck of a dual threat, but he's going to have to be in a perfect situation, right? There's not every organization values somebody that has his assets. So I think that's probably his biggest challenge, especially with him being a little bit undersized.
Isaiah, it's funny you bring that up. I had a few people tell me at the Army-Navy game, like, if Bill Belichick had a job right now, like, Eli Heidenreich could be Julian Edelman in a Bill Belichick offense. Yep. And I see it, right? Like, I see it. I just don't know where that place is now for that type of player.
Yeah, it's hard, man. And you're just kind of having my ear to the streets out there. You continue to hear about these coaches talking about guys being undersized. And I think we're getting back to the point in the NFL where coaches are starting to value these physical intangibles versus these necessarily abilities. And it's kind of a shame in a sense. But to your point, if you have the right coach, and this goes for anybody, if you have the right coach and you can find the right system, then obviously they will put you in the best position to be successful. But most organizations are seemingly starting to get back to hey, okay, this guy looks physically imposing. Yeah. This guy has long arms. This guy's tall. And the little guys are really going to have to stand out with their speed and in cone drills.
And then Landon Robinson, obviously the athletic freak, but you bring up undersized, right? Like that's the knock on Landon Robinson, although, there are people that have said that about other defensive tackles. Did you get a good look at him?
I did. He has actually some good reps in practice. He didn't necessarily show up in a game in a major way, but he did make some noise in practice, especially when I had an opportunity to go back and watch the one-on-ones and then O-line versus D-line. He was getting some penetration on that side of the ball, so it seemed like he was getting some good tread. The coaches liked what he was doing, but you only have so many reps during that game to really flash, and if you don't, then you kind of blend in with the rest of the crowd.
I know Maryland's Jalen Husky, the cornerback, was named one of the top practice players of the week. Did you get anything, happen to get your eyes on him at all during the course of the week?
You know what, to be honest with you, there wasn't any corners that really stuck out to me. And the reason being is because I'm not sure what's going on at the collegiate level, but there's a lot of those guys were playing with their hands in practice. They're not necessarily moving their feet. So there were some technical things that were going on, especially when we start talking about the secondary, that necessarily weren't keeping up. The guys would make some what they perceived as really good sticky defensive plays in one-on-ones and 7-on-7s and things of that nature, and then they'll turn around and there's a handkerchief on the ground from about 5 different referees. So those guys at that position group, I feel like has some work to do overall, and there wasn't anybody necessarily that stuck out to me at the cornerback position. There was a couple of safeties that showed up, but the corners, it really was hard to find somebody that really was going to make an impact.
All right, run me through. Who were the couple of guys that most stood out to you during the course of the week in the game?
Right off the back, I can tell you for the east side, it's going to be the defensive end from Wisconsin, Mason Reiger. he absolutely was a beast, man. He was somebody who had a lot of energy, big physical guy, 6'5", 270 pounds, I believe, 260. Just relentless. He reminded me of Max Crosby coming off the edge. In practice, he showed up. The coaches raved about him in the production meetings. And then in the game, he showed up in a major way as well. Somebody that was playing opposite of him, Wesley Williams, defensive end out of Duke. He was somebody that was an absolute problem as well. Up front. On the flip side, let me hop over to the other side. They had a big defensive lineman. I believe his name was Let's see here. I'm trying to think about exactly what it. Oh, James Thompson Jr. out of Illinois, big D lineman. He was wrecking shop. He seemingly was unblockable at the interior defensive line position. And then a running back, man, Dean Connors out of Houston. Remember, he was an absolute terror. He got in the game and I think he was maybe 8 carries, had probably 70 yards. He was just physical. He was one of those guys that you realize, hey, the first man, sorry, but you're not going to get him to the ground. You're going to need more people. And he came in and really made a tremendous impact.
You bring up Mason Reiger. As you'd imagine, we are very interested in the edges in this year's draft.
For sure.
I know that he's not someone that came into this week as being like a top of the draft type of guy. Where do you feel like he sort of moves? Because it's not just you, but I've heard from a lot of folks who are raving about Mason Reiger. What do you feel like his range sort of is? Is he an impact guy in the NFL quickly?
You know what? He's one of those guys that he's a high effort guy, right? He's somebody that all his intangibles aren't going to necessarily show up on the stat sheet. But if you get him with the right coach and somebody that can give him, 3, 4, 5 moves, then obviously he can be a beast. But, there's that effort aspect and that relentlessness, that's something you can't coach. That's a want to, right? His size, he's a physical specimen. So that's another aspect that works to his benefit, has long arms. He could be an absolute nemesis in the special teams game while he's figuring it out defensively. So I think he's probably going to be like, maybe a 4th or 5th round type of guy, but he's going to have to get with an organization that has the position coaches that are going to invest in his production.
Unfortunately, I think the Ravens they need guys that get people on the ground. They don't need effort guys right now. They need difference makers at the edge rush position, although obviously we're hoping that perhaps Jesse Minter can help coax that out from a few guys as the things go on a little bit himself. Isaiah Stanback, anybody else that you just, it's worth keeping an eye on this guy as we move into draft season?
Probably at the quarterback position. I think that anybody that fits you guys' mold out there in Baltimore Ward is going to be just Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. He's a quarterback that I think has a lot of intangibles, very smart kid. You talk about stepping in and having a presence and really just kind of owning the room. He's one of those guys that just really just grabs your attention. All the guys respect him immediately. High energy, dual threat guy. Can really just go out there and pretty much do whatever is asked of him. I think that, especially in Baltimore, there's been some struggles with having a backup to Lamar Jackson. Obviously, he's had some injury issues as well. So being able to go in there and not have to spend a high draft pick to get somebody who's fully capable of backing him up consistently, running whatever offensive scheme is going to be coming into Baltimore, I think that's going to be huge.
All right. Before I let you go, since you did spend a year with him, give me your thumbnail when you got the news that Bill Belichick's not going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame this year.
I am looking forward to the day that the people who voted against him, their names come out. That is going to be an interesting day if that presents itself, because it's absolute insanity. And as Lawrence Taylor said, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, then everything's a joke.
I do agree. I do agree with that. It is insane to me. Isaiah, what's next on the docket for you?
I'll be heading down to Good Morning Football coming up next week. I'm getting ready for Super Bowl week, so looking forward to being on there again with the rest of the squad down there at NFL Network. Outside of that, man, just getting ready for the combine and seeing exactly these collegiate athletes that are going to have opportunity to step into the fold.
What time do you guys go in to start that show on the West Coast?
3:30 a.m. production call, and then we're on set by 4:45.
Whew! Man, that is a heck of a time to be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed on television.
They have plenty of coffee.
I believe it. At I Am Stanback, that's how you follow him. Isaiah Stanback, always appreciate you, bro. Thanks for taking the time for us this morning, man. We really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me on.
Isaiah Stanback with us here on GCR. I get it. Like I know. I wish I had more of like the vinegar. Like God, this is a joke. This is I've been following the Hall of Fame thing a little bit too long to be worked up about it. It doesn't get me worked up. I guess it should. Should I be angry? I don't know. Again, I'm as worked up about Bill Belichick not getting in, which I do, as I said a million times, I think is insane, as I am some of the hypocrisy from some of the people that are screaming about it. Like I said, like to me, Drew losing his mind the way he does about, steroid users, but not feeling the same way about Bill Belichick is fascinating to me. And my answer on all of them is, I don't care. I think they should be in. If what they accomplished, as I said before, I don't think Mark McGwire is a Hall of Fame baseball player at all. I think Mark McGwire was a really good power hitter who became a historic power hitter because he was using steroids. His career, to me, does not track with Hall of Fame baseball player.
Even if that's, those couple of years, when he was the face of baseball for
right.
Like he's part of baseball history, right?
He is part of. So is Roger Maris. Roger Maris is in the Hall of Fame.
Roger Maris, yeah. Wait, what?
Roger Maris isn't a Hall of Famer.
He's not a Hall of Famer.
No.
Oh,
like just being a part of a significant event alone is not enough to.
Maybe we should put Roger Maris in.
We could have a conversation about Roger Maris. I don't know who was the better baseball player between Roger Maris and Mark McGwire. Part of this is me watching Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire was a donkey. Like, he was a one-trick pony. He hit home runs, and that was it. I without knowing exactly how many home runs he would, because somebody might have said, well, he might have, even without steroids, hit a lot of home runs. And he might have. I don't know what the number might have been that he finished with. He finished with 583.
It's pretty good.
Right, but if we assume, like, 2 of those years, he hit 70 and 65.
So take those 2 out.
So I'm not saying take all of them out, but again,
well, I mean, if you want to try to maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
I don't know.
So he's still at 400 plus?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Mark McGwire would have been a 400 home run hitter, even without steroids. I don't know if it's safe to say that. I think it's reasonable to think that. But a 400 home run hitter who didn't do anything else, nothing, was a 263 career hitter, which isn't awful, but he wasn't a hitter. He was Chris Davis. Actually, I would say Chris Davis was a better hitter than Mark McGwire. I can't believe I'm about to use those words. When Chris Davis was at his best.
Well, I mean, I guess. The 1 year?
What's that? Well, the 1 year, I mean, he was an excellent hitter, right? Like, he did everything well. I know for the most of his career, he was not an overall good hitter. Mark McGwire was not a particularly great baseball player, so I don't have that opinion about Mark McGwire. But all the other guys that were good baseball players that also did steroids, Rafael Palmeiro, I think Sammy Sosa, and obviously Barry Bonds, and obviously Roger Clemens. Like, I think there's a compelling argument about Manny Ramirez. Like, what would Manny Ramirez have been without steroids? Because he was obviously, you were better off putting Griffin in the outfield than you were putting Manny Ramirez.
Okay, well, I'm better than a lot of.
No.
Yeah, I'm better than Jorge Mateo. I might be.
No, you're not. You're not.
You haven't seen me.
I understand.
I play the outfield.
Manny Ramirez was a joke of a defensive player.
He had that one catch in Baltimore.
Right. So what would Manny Ramirez have been without steroids? I mean, he was a career 300 hitter, so...
It's safe to say that takes skill.
Oh, it definitely takes skill. I think there's an argument for Manny Ramirez, but... I mean, there's definitely a better argument for Manny Ramirez than there is for Mark McGwire to me. Like, Mark McGwire of the steroid users is the one that I could say, there's no world where I vote for Mark McGwire. He was not a good baseball player.
17 home runs shy of 600.
You keep trying to make the argument based around home runs. This is where If you want to have the conversation, it involves you acknowledging.
My point,
that the
it's
home
hard
runs,
to stumble into nearly 600 home runs, even if, I mean, like,
I agree that
taking steroids.
he was going to hit a lot of home runs.
There are guys that took steroids when we're still bad.
I agree with that, too. I think that Mark McGwire was better than, I'm trying to think of a name that I want to
Johnny
put in
Peralta,
here,
I mean.
Sam Horn. Like, I think he was a better baseball player, but I'm not arguing Sam Horn is a Hall of Famer.
Melky Cabrera, he got popped a couple of times, didn't he?
I think he did, yeah. I'm not arguing those guys. I'm saying I think Mark McGwire was a Hall of really good baseball player because he was really good at hitting home runs and then became a prodigious home run hitter because he was using steroids. And nothing, I watched Mark McGwire. He offered nothing as a baseball player other than running into a baseball. And he did that in part really well because he was using steroids. But other than him, somebody would have to really present me of the steroid-linked guys. Alex Rodriguez is a Hall of Fame baseball player, period. He's a scumbag, but he's a Hall of Fame baseball player. Without any question, was better than oodles of other baseball players. What was this?
This is the rumored list of potentially.
No, this was the David Ortiz list.
Yeah, or well, I don't know. This is the thing Heyman posted randomly one day and then deleted it quickly.
I don't remember.
And everyone looked at it. Was like, well, a lot of these guys use steroids. We think, so we think it's just.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe. Who knows?
But I'm trying to find.
I don't really know why. Why are we sharing it?
Well, just so we can look at names that were good and names that also weren't good. There's a lot of names that we don't recognize.
I don't
on
care
here.
about that. That's not my judgment. My judgment was, were you a Hall of Fame baseball player? Mark McGwire wasn't. He was a baseball player.
I disagree. I mean,
Dude,
I
you
think-
have no idea what you're saying.
I mean, you're right. I never watched him. So.
That's the problem. You're only reacting to the number of home runs he hit. That's it.
And that he took over baseball for like 5 straight years
Because of what?
because he was hitting home runs.
That's it. In the middle of what?
in the middle of wasn't this around the strike as
In
well?
the middle of
like,
the
right before
say it.
the when players were rumored to be taking steroids.
Era.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Was he ever suspended?
That's a great point. Although wasn't part of him agreeing to be a coach? Didn't he have to accept it? I don't remember I feel like there was a story about that, like with him being a coach. That there was some sort of punishment involved.
Here.
There might not have been. I might be conflating that with someone else. I don't remember.
Searching he was suspended. Okay, he got into a fight while he was a coach.
Is that what it was?
He was suspended for 2 games for that.
That's not what I'm remembering.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that like someone.
And then, yeah, that was it.
All right.
That was it. When I control F susp just to see if suspended would pop up on his Wikipedia page. It's the only time. For getting into a fight with the other team.
Mark McGwire is not a Hall of Famer, but the other guys are absolutely Hall of Famers, unquestionably. Rafael Palmeiro was a great hitter, was an unbelievable hitter, and one of the best defensive first basemen we ever saw. And I get it. That's, somebody would say, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, defensive first baseman. But, like, we watched Mark McGwire. Mark McGwire played the same position. They weren't the same. One of them stood there. The other was a baseball player. Rafael Palmeiro, to me, is a Hall of Famer that happened to use steroids and point his finger at. But that's my opinion, is they all should be in. I think that. I think that strongly. And it's just interesting to me that people that have that opinion about those guys don't have that opinion about Bill Belichick. And that feels, and I get it, yesterday, even Jimmy Johnson was going to the wall for Bill Belichick yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh, everybody was trying to steal signs. We were trying to do it in Miami. Like, he was all over the place.
He's trying to get himself kicked out of the Hall.
Oh, my God, man. I wanted to say, like, Jimmy, stop. Stop. But inevitably, it's cheating. Remember how worked up Drew was about Carlos Beltran getting into the Hall of Fame? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
That was, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, not even probably. Yeah.
Screaming about it. And then screaming on the other side about Bill Belichick. What am I missing?
Well, Carlos Beltran doesn't have 7 rings.
That's a good point. But he didn't bring up his baseball qualifications. He brought up one thing. His involvement in a sign-stealing scandal. Well, that's ironic, because what was the point of Spygate?
I believe it was to try and read signs.
Was that to steal signs?
Yeah.
So, okay, I just want to make sure.
There was 80,000 people
I just
there.
want to make sure that I have this figured out. I got a couple people who noticed that Drew did not really want to go down that road yesterday. And you're right, he didn't. I noticed the same thing. He really tried to avoid it as much as he possibly could. And that's fine. That's his right. I'm not mad at him. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. It's hypocritical. The hypocrisy is thick. I do think that Bill Belichick should be in the Hall of Fame. And part of it is I think he's going to get into the Hall of Fame. I don't think this is a scarlet letter the way that it was with Barry Bonds. And that's why this maybe pisses me off more. Like maybe the reason I can't scream about Bill Belichick more is like we've debased ourselves so much when it comes to Hall of Fame stuff that I kind of don't care. Was Eric Allen more deserving of Terrell Suggs to be in the Hall of Fame?
Probably not.
I don't think so.
That's why it's bothersome though, is that you have two empty slots.
Yeah, that's what infuriates you from last year. It's part of they have a process problem. It's also I don't know how many of these guys are going to get in. It might very well be that once again there's 5 nominees between seniors and coach and contributor, and one of them is going to end up getting in.
So can they put in?
They can put in.
They can only put in 5.
They can't put in 5 because you only get 3 votes per person.
Okay.
And you have to get 40 votes. So I have to somebody who's better at math than I am.
So the odds on that are probably low.
Yeah, like it's tough to get 3 guys in.
Well, then I guess it's just
largely
what they want. Yeah.
you have to have essentially agreement about those 3 guys. And part of this, it's funny because somebody pointed out that Deion Sanders was flipping out about this on Twitter. And somebody pointed out like Deion Sanders is part of the reason why it became more difficult to get into the Hall of Fame, because Deion Sanders a few years ago ran his mouth about he thought there were too many guys getting in that weren't really Hall of Famers. And this is what it leads to, is you make it difficult. And while to you it's as simple as Bill Belichick's better, more important than L.C. Greenwood or Roger Craig or Ken Anderson, and I agree. Yeah, that was Deion Sanders losing his mind. And he's not wrong. Everybody who's saying this is right. The disrespect of Coach Belichick is straight out ignorant. He's arguably the best coach. But you don't understand. We've already heard from somebody who voted no. It's not disrespect. This is the opinion that I have. And the way that you do this process, I want to get these guys in who have been waiting longer. If that means that Bill Belichick has to wait 2 years, it's okay. It's not going to change what happens when he goes into the Hall of Fame next year. It's just a weird conversation. The process is screwy, man. There's 15 player finalists to get into the Hall of Fame this year. I'm sure we'll do this bit with Drew next week, so I don't want to waste it.
Drew said he's not in next week.
Oh, he's not in next week? So you want to do it? I don't know. I don't know how.
What, you don't trust my historical football knowledge?
Can't believe I actually want Drew in for something. I can't believe that's the case. Is Willie Anderson a Hall of Famer? I think he's damn close. I mean, like, he's not high on my list, but, like, if it's simple yes or no, it's a yes for me. Is Drew Brees? Obviously.
Yeah. He's a guy that should. This is his first year, right?
Yes.
He's a guy that should.
In a normal world, you would say Drew Brees shouldn't have to wait at all. And I don't think he will. I don't think Drew Brees or Larry Fitzgerald. I cannot believe that either of those guys will not go in immediately. As I say that, bank on one of them not going in immediately.
They're just going to put no one in this year.
I mean, like, this is what they do. Is Jari Evans a Hall of Famer? I think he is. We don't feel the same way because he's a guard. But if Marshall Yonda is a Hall of Famer, I think Jari Evans is a Hall of Famer.
Didn't Yonda play longer? Yeah, Yonda played a year or two longer.
Jari Evans played, 11 years, and Marshall Yonda played 13 years. Yeah. Larry Fitzgerald, obviously. Frank Gore, obvious. You know what's really funny? Somebody brought up to me, because I think Frank Gore is a slam dunk Hall of Famer. How many times was Frank Gore an All-Pro in his career?
5.
Go lower.
Oh, really? 3.
Go lower.
0.
1. Frank Gore, who to me is an obvious, gotta be, what are we talking about, type of Hall of Famer. Frank Gore was an All-Pro once in his career. How many running backs all time ran for more yards than Frank Gore did?
I guess, just because he played so long, is it none? Or
2.
2?
He's the 3rd all-time leading rusher in NFL history. To me, end of conversation, right? To me, Frank, that makes you a first ballot Hall of Famer. Frank Gore was an All-Pro once in his career. It will not stun me that Frank Gore will probably be someone that has to wait to go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, despite the fact that, again, to me, the 3rd leading rusher of all time smells like you're a first ballot Hall of Famer. But based on the fact that he was only an All-Pro once, I think he's probably going to end up waiting.
And I guess he just didn't have any single dominant year.
Yeah, it was just more of a balanced career where, it was also, I would say, the funny thing being, somebody would say, well, it was also a dominant running back era. It really wasn't. Like, he started his career on the tail end of a dominant running back era, but then the bulk of his career was kind of in an era that was not running back dominant at all. Torrey Holt. It's insane that he's been waiting as long as he has. Luke Kuechly. What are we talking about? Is Luke Kuechly a Hall of Famer? Right now, I'm 7 for 7. They're all Hall of Famers. Eli Manning, who we don't think is going to get in, is the first one. Like, of everybody on this list, I'm lowest on Eli Manning.
Yeah, but his name's Manning.
I understand that, and he beat Tom Brady twice in the Super Bowl.
And Bill Belichick.
And I understand all
Which
that.
might mean nothing. But yeah.
Maybe I put him slightly above Jari Evans.
Yeah,
no.
he beat Bill Belichick while Belichick was cheating.
No, I mean, Eli Manning to me is the worst of the candidates. We also know he's not getting in. That we've listed off so far. Terrell Suggs, of course, is a Hall of Famer. What are we doing? Adam Vinatieri is a Hall of Famer. Reggie Wayne, yes. Kevin Williams is the first one where I'm like, I don't know, man. He was really good, but I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. But I would also say, like, somebody could present me the Kevin Williams argument, and it might end up being like Eric Allen. You're like, damn, I guess I didn't realize just how great Kevin Williams really was. To me, Kevin Williams is kind of Haloti Ngata, right? Like, really good player for a long time, but probably not a Hall of Famer. But Kevin Williams was a first-team All-Pro 5 times in his career and was named to the All-Decade team in the 2000s. You know he's going in this year. Like, you know it. That's why he's on the list, because we all look at it and say, well, there's one guy that's not going to go in. You just know that means that he's the guy that's going in. There are going to be 3 Hall of Famers. It's going to be Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, and Kevin Williams are going to be the 3 that break through.
Even though Torrey Holt's been waiting.
Yes.
Almost 2 decades now.
Is Jason Witten a Hall of Famer? Obviously. Yeah. Obviously. Is Darren Woodson a Hall of Famer? Like, that wouldn't be one that we could have another. Like, if I'm really.
So he's going in.
Yeah, if I'm really forced to try to find guys that to me aren't absolute. I mean, yeah, there's probably a great comparison between Eric Allen and Darren Woodson. Like, if Eric Allen went in, then there's probably a strong argument for Darren Woodson. Darren Woodson was a 3-time first-team All-Pro. It's not quite as hard, but I mean, he was on 3 Super Bowl teams too. And Marshall Yondu, I think, is a Hall of Famer. At most, I'm coming up with 3 guys on this list that to me aren't Hall of Famers. And they sure as hell aren't all getting in. And so then next year, the list, like, this is what happens. They only put 3 in last year when they could have put Torrey Holt in or Terrell Suggs. And you end up with this. And then we all flame and we all scream about it, but you have guys who go into this and saying, my priority is getting the guys in that have waited the longest. That's my priority. That's why inevitably Eric Allen went in last year. And this year it might very well be. I'm trying to think of who's up against it, whose career ended the longest to go.
I think
Willie Anderson.
Yeah.
Willie Anderson.
Or Woodson, yeah.
Or Woodson. Oh, yeah. I almost would bank on Darren Woodson then. That it becomes like people in the room. It's personal. We got to get him in. We have to. That one of those guys gets in because of it. It's a screwy process. And then we scream and we flame, and it's very personal. Well, this is these bastards that didn't vote for Bill Belichick. Well, it's not that simple.
So we need to change the process, or?
I mean, they tried doing this a few years ago. They tried to have a mega class to try to clean up the log jam.
Should we give guys 5 votes?
But then we found out that was just kind of a sham. They were just trying to figure out a way to get Paul Tagliabue in because they knew the voters were never going to vote for him. So they had to create some other. I mean, it was a joke. They created some committee that was a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, get Paul Tagliabue in the Hall of Fame. I don't think the meeting is helpful. I think the way they do it is poor. If you trust that the people that are voting know what they're talking about, and then let them vote.
Because it just becomes 12 angry
Yeah,
men.
it becomes, and everybody's now, it's like you love Survivor. There's like alliances. Like, I'll line up with you and vote for Darren Woodson if you line up with me and vote for Willie Anderson. So now you have this like voting block, and they're not voting for the most obvious candidates.
It's kind of fun. I do like that.
Yeah, except it ain't great for electing people to the Hall of Fame.
No, it's not.
Just get a broad list of people that have all, and let them vote, and then figure out who got the most votes.
Or make the threshold 60%.
I don't know, dog. I don't know.
Or
just say every year you have to
getters.
put 5 guys in, no matter what, because every year there's more than enough that you can put 5 people into the Hall of Fame. I don't know the answer. All right, we'll come back in. I'm already running late. We have to wrap up today, and I got to take 2 breaks. So we might be doing tidbit and then breaking tubular. I don't know what we're doing. I just got carried away talking about this. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Looking for Baltimore's premier waterfront dining experience? Head to Nick's Fish House, located in the Baltimore Peninsula. Enjoy crabs all year long, plus happy hour Monday through Thursday from 3 to 6. Planning a celebration? From rehearsal dinners to corporate crab feasts, Nick's is the spot to make it unforgettable. And the fun doesn't stop there. Live music fills the air every Thursday through Sunday. Check out the full lineup at nicksfishhouse.com. Nick's, it's where Baltimore comes to eat, drink, and play by the water.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR. Here's an interesting note from Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. Ravens assistant Randy Brown, a coach with the team since John Harbaugh's first season in 2008, has agreed to remain in Baltimore, sources say. Brown has worked closely with the team's Pro Bowl specialists and will continue in a similar role on Jesse Minter's coaching staff. That's worded in such an odd way, as if, like, the Ravens only let him work with the Pro Bowlers. Like, yeah, you can be with Jordan Stout, but you better stay the hell away from all of the returners. Randy Brown is known as sort of like a kicking whisperer. That's sort of his area of specialty.
Did a great job last season.
And that's the weird, like, I just sent a tweet about this. Like, there's weird ways to spin this. You can spin this and say, well, if you're sticking with Tyler Loop, you want to have somebody like this to help you. And then you could also spin it and say Tyler Loop was allegedly Randy Brown's choice. John Harbaugh sent Randy Brown out looking for kickers, and Randy Brown said Tyler Loop was the guy, and then was presumably working with him regularly throughout the course of this season. I'm indifferent towards Randy Brown sticking around. Yeah, I know Justin Tucker has given Randy Brown a lot of credit over the years, and I hope that Randy Brown is someone that can help fix Tyler Loop and turn Tyler Loop into a kicker. But as I said before, I'm not as concerned about solving for Tyler Loop as I am solving for kicker. My opinion is I'd be approaching this right now as though you don't have an entrenched kicker on your team. That's the way that I would have been treating, center field for the Orioles, and they didn't seem to feel the same way. They decided they would just solve for Colton Cowser. And I hope it works out. I hope. Be great if it did. And if the Ravens end up sticking with Tyler Loop, I hope that works out too. But I would be less concerned about solving for Tyler Loop and more concerned about having the best kicker on the team that you possibly can, whoever that is. Whether it's Tyler Loop, whether it's some guy kicking in the UFL this season, whether it's a veteran, a free agent, or a rookie, whoever it is, I would be, right now today, I would say that Tyler Loop is an option, not my kicker. And that's not because he missed one kick. It's because
he missed several kicks.
He didn't make a kick of consequence and wasn't good in the kickoff game. So those things make me say, Tyler Loop, I'm fine if he would be a guy that you'd throw in, have him compete, that's whatever. But he would not be entrenched as my kicker. Me personally, Glenn Clark. Randy Brown is going to be back with the Ravens next year. Today's show also brought to you by the Costas Inn. We love the Costas Inn. Who doesn't love the Costas Inn? Costas Inn has two great locations, one in Dundalk, 4100 North Point Boulevard. That's the OG Costas Inn that you've known and loved for decades. And you've known and loved the new Costas Inn in Timonium for weeks. With everything from the original Costas Inn except for steamed crabs, the Costas Inn, new location in Timonium at the Grandstand. Stuff that we didn't get to yet today from, John in Little Rock's been checking in. Apologies, John. I'm sorry.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. I'm just the best, That's when I wake up in the morning. I
also knew that you won picks like days ago.
I piss excellence. That's just but John's congratulating me now, so okay. I assume everybody will come in, over the course of the next week or so, and just one by one congratulate.
John says, "Why didn't the senior committee get Greenwood and Craig in?" Well, we don't. Do we know that? Do we know who's been voted in?
No.
Yeah, so I don't. I mean,
unless somebody said something.
We're not going to find out until next week, and again, unless it might just be this thing where we all raise our. I also did not get elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and then we just keep. Everybody's got to raise their hand until we figure out who did get elected into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We don't know if they didn't get in. Why didn't the original committee put them in? Maybe that's what John meant. Because every year there's 15 really good candidates, and you can only put 5 guys in. And they don't even always get 5 guys in. It's just a bad system. It leads to this. It leads to guys that you look at and you're like, that guy's absolutely a Hall of Fame. Like Sterling Sharp to me got in on the in whatever they call the blue ribbon now, I think is what they call this, the senior committee with the coaches. He got in that way last year, and I couldn't believe. I'm like, wow, how did Sterling Sharp not get in the original run? But that's the way this works. You have so many qualified candidates. And we're just talking about Kevin Williams, so I'm like, I don't know. He's probably not as good as the other guys on the list, but like, he was a 5-time first-team All-Pro. It doesn't happen by luck. He was a great player, probably a Hall of Famer. So it's just tricky, man. It's a very tricky conversation. Do you want to do the game? Do you want to do who you would vote in?
Yeah.
All right. That means we can't do it next week, though. No, that's the thing. Next week is the time to do it.
All right, we'll wait.
I guess there is the danger that we just find out who the whole list is between now and then.
It sounds like the Hall of Fame does not want that.
All right, and we got to wrap up by 11:30 anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
From Ron. Ron checked in and said, "What are your thoughts on T. Martin? I enjoyed the conversation with Jamal yesterday." Yeah, that got a lot of shares, a lot of views. I know the that part of our conversation. I mean, most of our conversation with Jamal was looking back on the 25th anniversary, and then I just asked the one question about T. Martin at the end because, it's really funny. I had a weird affinity for those Tennessee teams, I think because Steve Spurrier seemed like such an asshole that I, wanted Tennessee to beat Florida just because I was, the pompousness of Steve Spurrier was too much for me when I was a young man. I just found myself kind of rooting for Tennessee. I don't know how to explain it. I had
so you were watching T.
I was a kid. I was watching the Peyton Manning teams and remember famously when Peyton Manning announced he was coming back for a 4th season, Steve Spurrier said, "Well, that makes sense. You can't spell Citrus Bowl without UT." It was one of the that's pro wrestling good. MJF can't come up with lines like that.
MJF would.
I don't know. Maybe.
He would.
Maybe. That was so... that stung, man. And then, of course, once again, Peyton Manning and Tennessee fail. And so you're like, well, you had your chance. You had the Peyton Manning years, and you screwed it up. It was over. And then, out of nowhere, a year later, T. Martin and Jamal Lewis lead Tennessee to a national championship. And I had this, weird affinity. So I was really excited when the Ravens drafted Jamal Lewis. I was like, this guy is going to be a Hall of Famer. And he wasn't, but he was...
Maybe he will be.
No, I don't think so. But he was very good, man. Jamal Lewis was unbelievable. So I had some, weird affinity for those Tennessee teams and watched them. I don't know. My gut tells me that, no, it needs to be someone a bit more experienced. But, if the other choice is Declan Doyle, then what are we talking about? I mean, I don't know.
Todd Monken was pretty kind of out of nowhere, right?
He had been the coordinator, obviously, at Georgia.
Right,
Georgia
but no
had
one
been really good.
I mean, obviously there were connections, evidently, but
yes.
we weren't.
Yes, Tom Crean was the connection.
Yeah, we weren't connecting those dots before.
No, nobody was talking about Todd Monken as being the offensive coordinator. It just so happened to be that Tom Crean and Tom's wife had a relationship with the Monkins because they were all at Georgia together, and Tom Crean suggested him to John Harbaugh, and here we are. But again, they had serious success at Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
T. Martin, those were pretty bad USC teams that T. Martin was part of. Trying to think of.
Oh, when he was coaching?
When he was offensive coordinator, particularly, because that's what you only have a little bit. 2016 to 2018. 2016 to 2018 USC football. 2016, that was a pretty good team, actually, in 2016. That was a Sam Darnold. That was Sam Darnold. He started? Did Sam Darnold start in 2016? Is he a freshman? I mean, all right, maybe I'm going to talk myself into T. Martin. Maybe I'm going to end up looking at this.
Now that Sam Darnold's a good quarterback.
Yeah, right. I mean, he did really work with Sam Darnold. He was Sam Darnold's offensive coordinator basically his entire career. I don't know. Maybe I'll talk myself into T. Martin. That last year, 2018, they weren't very good. But the first 2 years, they were really good. I don't know. Maybe I could talk myself into it. Maybe it's not. it's not just Jamal Lewis talking up a buddy. Maybe there really is an argument for T. Martin. I mean, how much does it matter that he's been here? I don't know, because what is here?
Mm-hmm. And no one knows what Lamar Jackson's thinking. Like
it's funny. I Maryland basketball stinks, but like going into the season, everybody talked about all the new players. Well, they weren't all new players. They were just new players here, because some of them had experience with Buzz Williams. Like there was a core there. Now, as it turns out, they're not good enough. They're very bad, and I don't know if Buzz Williams is a good coach or not. My gut tells me not so much, but he's gonna be here, so hopefully that changes. I don't know how much it matters that he had the time in the building. I mean, it might with the players. The language, the identity, all those things might be changing under Jesse Minter. But John Harbaugh kept Rex Ryan originally, despite the fact that Rex Ryan, it's almost a Jim Schwartz situation, right? Like Rex Ryan was pissed and hated it and yet stayed, in part because, Ray Lewis, Ed Reed. I mean, there's definitely a good way to you got to give Rex credit. Like, he was furious. He was Jim Schwartz pissed, but he was also like, yeah, but if I'm going to get a head coaching job, might be smart to hang around these dudes. Might be smart to hang around Haloti Ngata a little bit longer and Terrell Suggs if I want to get a
trick somebody into thinking
if I want to get a head coaching job, might be smart to be around these players. But it doesn't matter that he's been around Lamar Jackson and that he knows Lamar Jackson. Maybe it does. Maybe it does. I don't know how new and fresh his offensive concepts will be, but sometimes I think we overblow that. Like, there's only so many offensive concepts. It's not like somebody was like, I got an idea. We're going to put 7 offensive linemen on the field at the same time.
Guys are doing that now. But not every play.
Yeah. I don't know. Ron, my answer is, my gut tells me you should be shooting higher than T. Martin, but maybe T. Martin is as qualified, if not more, than some other candidates that you'd be talking about. So I could absolutely talk myself into it if it ends up being T. Martin. And Jeff said, did you see what? Yeah, I did. We reached out to Steve Phillips. We didn't hear back from him. Man, everybody's banging the same drum. But every day that goes by that Framber Valdez isn't an Oriole is another day that I assume that he's closer to being something else. The Orioles need pitching. Framber Valdez isn't an Oriole. I don't think they're going to outbid themselves. The only question is someone else going to step in and be willing to outbid them? And my gut tells me when it's all said and done that someone will. Just a gut. I hope I'm wrong. I hope today's the day. Actually, it really would have been nice one the last 2 days when I was doing sports in the morning on WBAL and 98 Rock.
We'll probably do it tomorrow morning.
Yeah, right. Just to screw with me. All right, we'll come back in. We'll get a tidbit and two to wrap it up. Glenn Clark Radio.
The weather's getting cooler, so when you and your family are picking out a place to dine, be it lunch or dinner, let's make it nice and easy. Now, with 2 great locations, the Costas Inn remains your #1 destination. Whether you want to get steamed crabs and the full Costas menu out at the original location at 4100 North Point Boulevard, or sample the complete menu minus the steamed crabs at the new location above the grandstand at the Timonium Racetrack, Costas is your place to go. Check out the website, CostasInn.com, for a look at the menu, and if you want to plan that crab feast, call 410-477-1975. The Costas Inn.
Get in the game with Volo Sports. With over 15 sports to choose from, join a league or grab a Volo membership for discounted play, free daily pickups, fitness classes, and exclusive events. But the best part? A portion of every league fee helps the Volo Kids Foundation provide free sports to over 5,000 kids across Baltimore City each year. Don't miss out. Early pricing for the winter season ends December 12th. Final registration deadline is January 15th. Sign up now at volosports.com/Baltimore.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
The latest edition of Pressbox is available now, and it's our annual Best of issue, celebrating the top people, performances, and moments of 2025 in local sports. On the cover, we recognize 4 of the most significant athletes of the year: Orioles pitcher Trevor Rogers, Navy quarterback Blake Horvath, Maryland basketball star Derek Queen, and our 2025 Mo Gabba Sports Person of the Year, Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. Pressbox is available for free at over 250 locations throughout the region, including your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores. Plus, you can read the entire issue online at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can also find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps.
Watch like a fan, win like a champ. Live Casino is your home for the big game. Sunday, February 8th. Treat your crew to a game day like no other. Catch every play on massive wall-to-wall screens. Score epic food and drink specials and enter to win fantastic prizes. Make your game day a winner. Lock in your table today. At Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Please play responsibly. For help, visit mdgamblinghelp.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, let's wind things down before the Ravens start their press conference. We'll get a tidbit and get tubular. Tidbit is brought to you today by the print issue of Pressbox, still available at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores for like another 10 days or so, 2 weeks maybe, 2 weeks is what's left to get this print issue of Pressbox, the best of issue for 2025. Always free at your Baltimore area High's Dairy stores or read at PressBoxOnline.com.
Drake May joins a list of now 8 quarterbacks to win a conference title game within his first 2 seasons.
Okay. Win a conference title game in his first 2 seasons. Mahomes, second year, right?
Nope, he lost to Tom Brady.
Oh, that's right. Damn it. Burrow?
Yes, Burrow.
Reach the Super Bowl in your first 2 seasons.
Correct.
Reach the Super Bowl in the first 2 seasons. How about, man, this is harder than I thought it was going to be. Reach the Super Bowl in his first 2 seasons. Roethlisberger.
Yes, Ben Roethlisberger, 2005.
Brady.
Brady.
First 2 seasons. How about, God, there's somebody I'm blanking on that I'm going to.
There's 4 left.
There's 4 left.
Sorry, 5 left. 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. May became the 9th. My apologies.
May became the 9th.
Yeah, so there's 9 total.
So I've got 5 more that I got to get.
Correct. 5 more.
Reach the Super Bowl. Montana?
No.
How about...
There is a Niner.
Is a Niner. Is it Young? Oh, Kaepernick.
Sorry, there's 2 Niners. Yeah, Kaepernick is one of them. Not Young.
The other is Plunkett?
No.
Reach the Super Bowl. Oh, Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy a couple years ago. Yep, 2023, Brock Purdy. But yes, Kaepernick and Purdy.
Jalen Hurts? Was that his second year? No.
So that was 22, so that would have been his 3rd year?
Yeah. How about... Damn, this is good, man. How about... All right, you're going to have to speed this up.
We got 1, 2, 3. 2 of the 3 remaining did win the Super Bowl. So Ben and Tom both won.
2 of the 3 remaining
2 others
did
won.
win.
Yeah.
Okay, this will be fun.
All 3 remaining have done it in your lifetime. So.
All 3 remaining have done it in my lifetime. That is helpful, actually. So...
The first one just barely.
The first one just barely. Was that Doug Williams? It was... The first one was just barely in my lifetime. Who else won?
That one did not win. He did not win the Super Bowl.
That one did not. The one that was just in my lifetime did not win. Theismann?
No.
God. Marino?
Marino.
Okay.
Yeah, he never won. So Dan Marino was the first
Yeah.
to reach the Super Bowl within his first 2 seasons.
All right.
1984 in the Dolphins. And then
My
2.
lifetime. How about?
Yeah, 2 left. That
How-
both won.
Both won. Phil Simms?
Not Phil Simms.
Jeff Hostetler?
No. God. One is still active. Yeah. He's still active.
active. Oh, Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson in 2013
Yeah.
with Seattle.
Yeah.
And then the second one to do this between Brady and Marino.
Between Brady and Marino. It wasn't Aikman. Between Brady and Marino. Oh, Kurt Warner.
Kurt Warner at the 99 Rams. And then, of course, Tyrod Taylor as well. Yeah.
What? What?
He was, you know.
Yes.
Reached the Super Bowl.
What's that?
He reached the Super Bowl.
Well, yes.
His rookie year.
He did
yeah.
reach the
Or-
Super Bowl. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Here's coming up totally tubular-wise. That was tough. Tubular is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel. Speaking of the big game, no better place to watch the big game than Inside Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel, 100-foot media wall, great food and drink specials, Live Casino and Hotel, Maryland. Check them out for the big game. Here's what's coming up tonight, totally tubular-wise. Towson's got a late-night game, 9 o'clock tip-off tonight. Towson takes on Wilmington. That's on CBS Sports Network.
It's a big one.
Yeah, gotta have that. ESPN Plus, UMBC's at Vermont. That's another big
that's a
one
good one, too.
tonight
Yeah,
at 7
jeez.
o'clock. And the Australian Open men's semifinals tonight. Bummer that Jesse Pegula lost this morning, so it'll be Rybakina and Sabalenka for the women's title. But tonight at 10:30 on ESPN, Alcaraz Zverev, and then tomorrow morning 3:30 a.m. Jannik Sinner and Novak Djokovic in the other men's semifinal. Everything else, go to GlennClarkRadio.com. Non-sports.
No, not a whole lot. The Pit, new episode of that. The Traders, new episode. Bridgerton, season 4 on Netflix.
Sure.
And yeah, that's pretty much. Animal Control and Going Dutch.
I do like those shows.
Liam Neeson, Patrick Dempsey, Reggie Miller on Fallon tonight.
It's normally what we do when I.
Yeah, but there's another good one.
Thanks to thanks today to
I'll eat it next time.
Isaiah Stanback. We'll get that up in the greatest hits section of the
Kermit the Frog and Kaylee Cuoco will be on
best commencement
Kimmel.
speaker in Maryland history. Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Tomorrow on the program, we'll react, obviously, to anything that we learned today from Jesse Minter. Stan?
Yeah, Stan
Stan will be in studio with us.
And baseball, yeah.
Oh, we're talking to Jim Callis,
Yes,
right?
Jim
We'll
Callis
talk
from
about the
Putline,
Orioles top
yeah.
prospects. Stuff and things on the program tomorrow. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Volo Sports, the Costas Inn, Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Baltimore area High's Dairy Stores, Nick's Fish House, 1-800-GAMBLER, helpmygamblingproblem.org, countysports.zone, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. Go UMBC, go Towson, Duke sucks.